Hi, and welcome again to the Complaining Cow Consumer Show. And I'm Helen Dudney, and today I have with me Makala Green, who is a financial expert and author. Welcome, Makala.
Hey, welcome. Hi, Helen.
I don't know where to start, really. Where do I start with you? Tell me a little bit about what you do, and then I think we'll get on to how you got there.
Yeah, so I'm a financial expert. By day, I'm a financial advisor. So I'm a qualified financial advisor. I've been in the industry now for just over 18 years. I started off in the industry quite young, worked my way up from the banking kind of sector and branched off into financial advising. One of my greatest passions with regards to financial planning, financial advising, as many people may call it, is actually just reaching out to a much wider audience who sometimes don't feel as though they have access to financial planning. They may feel a bit of shame or blame around it. Also, those that don't feel that they're wealthy enough, should I say, quote, quote, and just reaching out to those individuals, and in particular as well, a younger audience and a female kind of demographic, because I think that is the part of the industry that's unheard and unseen in my sector, and it is growing. It has been growing over the years, but that's one of my passions, to just reach out to a much wider audience, to make financial planning a bit more accessible to everyone. And a lot of that is down to actually being fueled with the knowledge and the tools to feel a bit more empowered and confident around finances.
So how did you get into all of that?
Right, so I started off in the bank at 16 years old. Cut a long story short, I dropped out of college. I wanted to become a doctor. That was my passion at the time. Yeah, I went into the bank. I started off, it was meant to be a kind of part-time role, but ended up going into a full-time. And I absolutely loved it. From the day I started, it was really great. I started off as a cashier. So I always say to everyone, I started from the bottom and worked my way to the top. But it was great for me. It was really fascinating. I was almost captivated by money and what it could do and how it impacted people, and how the spectrum was so wide between how some people viewed it as a really good thing and others viewed it as a really bad thing, and it had a negative effect on some people. And I was just fascinated by it all. And so it was quite soon I realized I wanted to progress within the profession. I qualified first as a mortgage advisor. I started mortgage advising between 18 and 19. And then I started my dream role as a financial advisor at 21. And I've never looked back since. I've just continued. I've run my own practice. I've worked with many various different people, and it's been my passion, which is why I've been in the industry for so long.
It achieved quite a lot from a very young age, by the sounds of it, too. You became the first Black female chartered financial expert in the UK. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think it really drives back down to, number one, me starting off in the industry so young and having the opportunities that I did at my age in order to progress. Obviously, being the hardworking and persistent person that I am, I suppose that definitely plays a part in that. But I think a huge part of it is that females in general in the financial industry are the minority. They always have been, they still are till today. I think we make up about 15%. And they haven't yet done any statistics from what I'm aware with regards to Black individuals in the financial sector. But there was a statistic that was done under the fund investment kind of sector. And they stated that Black people make up 1%. So I think when you put the combination of it all together, the general statistics with a financial planner, what is the class as like the norm is, a middle-aged white male. And so I think I went against all those odds. And being that the young, I was female and Black, and it kind of, it was just one of those things. And I think the combination of it all being in the minority in all the sectors worked out to me achieving such a monumental achievement like that.
How did you find being in that sector? And as you say, all middle class white men. How did the sort of sector react to you sort of entering what they would see as their space, perhaps?
I've worked in various different sectors within my industry. So I've worked with, I would say, working class people. I've also worked with people who struggle with lots of debt. And then I've gone right to the other end, working with very high net worth individuals. So I suppose you have different experiences based on the type of sector and demographic of people that you're actually working with. If I was going to say I haven't had any challenges throughout my career, I'd be lying. There's been a number of challenges.
Yeah, I thought there would be. Tell us about some of those.
To be fair, I think the biggest challenge that I've faced is my age, believe it or not, because I started so young. I would always get questioned, "What do you know about finances?" Because I was so young. How much experience have you personally had? And I think, because it's such a trust business, it's a people's business, and people trust you in order to seek advice and so on and so forth. And so it's almost as if they're looking at you as that mirror before they actually cross over the bridge and want to invest or do things with you with their money. So I think age was quite a big barrier, and I'd often have to, like, when I was younger, kind of dress a lot older just to kind of fit in.
Put those wrinkles in.
Yes, yeah. I'd find myself doing that. Now I'm obviously doing the opposite. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to try to be younger. I would find myself, dressing a lot older and just to actually fit in, because I felt that was quite a big barrier for me. And then obviously being a female, I think again, that definitely plays a part. There's many times I've walked into a room, not only am I the only female, I'm the only Black person in the room. It depends how you look at it. I suppose I'm that type of individual. I got to a point where I kind of said, right, I've got all the odds against me, I can't change that. I can't change my age. Let's not talk about what we can change and what we can't. But there was things I felt I can't change these things. And so what can I do that can actually enhance, actually flip the coin and turn a bad situation into a good one? And so I kind of used that as a platform to gain better opportunities and to uniquely find my position within the profession. I felt that, well, actually, if I'm going to places and I'm the only one in the room that stands out, then let me try and stand out for all the right reasons. And that's when I, started reaching out to people in terms of bringing more awareness around, why is there a lack of females in the industry? Why is there a lack of people of color and representation in different areas within the industry? And I found that that's when, I started to get noticed in different fields for being this person that had all the odds against them.
Do you think you have any extra pressure on you to fight everyone else's cause and, all the other people that are underrepresented, more so that you have that other people don't have those pressures?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about pressures, I think that's when kind of race kind of comes into it, because you kind of sit back and think, well, there's not that much Black people, not only Black people, but people from other backgrounds as well within the financial industry. And you think, if you step any toe wrong, that kind of ruins it for many other people who want to kind of get into the industry, and also for younger people as well. So I feel that that's always been a kind of pressure on my shoulders, that I've always made sure I've wanted to do the right thing within the industry. I've wanted to kind of lead in the right way that I can, and actually shine that there should be more people like me in the industry. I don't know why there's still not. I get a lot of young females from all different types of backgrounds reaching out to me on a regular basis, asking, how can I get into the industry? What's the best way to get in? And the fact that there is no clear route for people of different backgrounds, it's still quite a bit sad, actually.
Do you think it's improving? Do you see any improvements?
Yes, I do, because there's a lot of academies now that companies run that provide a bit of a easier route for people who work in different fields. So if you could be, a gym instructor or physiotherapist or You could even be a sports professional who's retired, and now you can enter into the world of financial planning. And also, if you are like a graduate and you've gone down that route, you've got access even without experience to enter into like an academy. So I find that that's a much easier route for them to enter, because when I qualified with the bank, and at that time most of the banks were providing financial advice, but now they're not, so there's not that route available for many people now. So yeah, it's down to actual wealth management firms to offer like academies and things like that to allow people to have that experience to get into the industry.
So do you think it's actually more difficult to get into the industry than it was?
It definitely is. It definitely is more difficult,
Right.
but I think the industry has recognized that, and there has been changes that's been made to allow individuals to enter, so it doesn't actually completely block off a certain group of people, because it was a thing where if you didn't have the experience you can't enter, but then nobody wanted to give you experience. It's like, well, how do you then
yeah. Good old
how
catch
do you,
22. Yeah.
it's a bit of a catch-22. So I think the academies actually give that option. So yes, it's moving in the right direction. I think there could be still more flexibility going forward in future, but I think we will see that going forward as well.
Well, that sounds hopeful. Ever the optimist.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you sort of get over that sort of feeling with people that, it's money and it's finances and therefore it's all too complicated? How do you sort of get over those barriers, first of all, with people?
Well, first of all, I put money to a side, and I put finances to one side, because I think first of all we're humans, and second of all we all make mistakes. We've all been there and done that and kind of said, oh, if that happened I wouldn't do that again, or I'd change the way I do that. So I think first of all it's always a matter about having that conversation and just being open. It could be talking about general things, whatever it is that you enjoy, because I am always fascinated more about the goals and the visions and the dreams that people have for their life, rather than bringing money into the picture. I think leave the money aspect to me. Once you've actually identified what your goals are and what your dreams are, it's then very easy to say, well, I want to achieve this at this date, and it's going to cost X, Y, and Z. So working backwards, this is how much I really need to work towards achieving that, rather than kind of saying, right, well, how much have you got? No, you haven't got enough to invest, that kind of thing. So I get the question asked a lot, what's the right amount to start off investing? And I say, look, it's going to be different for everyone. It's a different amount for everyone, because we all have different hopes and dreams for our own personal life, or we should do, if we're thinking about ourselves as individuals. And obviously if you've got family, you take your family into consideration as well, and you might be planning for them also. But I think it should all be personalized to you. So what your neighbor's doing or what your best friend's doing is not going to be the same goal as yourself. It might be similar, but it's not going to be the same. So just because they've opened a certain type of account, it doesn't mean that that's the right account for you to open. So I always bring it back to what's personal. And I find once somebody's opened up about their goals, their dreams, their aspirations, I think the rest just flows, really.
What would you say that people need to look for if they're looking for someone to help them with their finances? What are the sort of things that they should be looking for? Thinking what you do and what you've just sort of outlined, and how you help people set their goals, and then you then look at how you invest or what you save. If they want somebody to help them sort of do that, other than coming obviously directly to you,
Yeah.
If they're looking for somebody local, what are the kind of things they should look at, making sure that they get the right person and the right fit for them?
Yeah, again, going back to me stating that it's a industry of trust. So I always say the first point of call would be to have a recommendation, maybe from a friend or family, with somebody that they've worked with. That's always a good fit, isn't it, in terms of trust, If you're looking for somebody kind of local. I mean, you've got many sites online as well that you can actually gain access to financial planners online, and you've got lots of things, a bit like a trip advisor. When you're going abroad, you can kind of check out, you know, what reviews people have actually mentioned about them and so on and so forth, and have a bit of a read and a bit of a feel to see how you feel about them. You can always check out people's websites as well, again. So just arm yourself with as much information as possible if it is somebody that you've not been personally recommended to. LinkedIn as well is quite a great place, so you can always get recommendations, you know, from friends that you know or family on LinkedIn, and they can recommend somebody there, and you've got their whole profile there that you can have a read of. So I just think understanding as much as possible about the individual who you're going to see, because it's got to be somebody that you trust, because you're possibly going to end up telling them your whole life story, you know. And to be fair, people share things with me that they don't share with their partners or their parents, and you know, so I just think it's got to be somebody that you trust, absolutely. And obviously trust is not built overnight. It's something that's it takes a number of years sometimes to build, but I think that mutual kind of liking at the start is a great start.
What would you say are the best parts of your job, and then obviously the worst part as well?
So the best parts is meeting new people every day and helping them achieve their goals, their aspirations, helping them achieve things that they never thought that they could achieve, and protecting them from the worst case scenarios. You know, those are the things that really make me have a good night's sleep. And the worst parts, did you say?
Yeah, the things that, or maybe the bits that you could do without, if you could have only the best bits.
The worst part is that we're still in a professional industry that's still not taught in schools.
Yeah.
I still find that, you know, it's a huge barrier to still overcome with many people who have, number one, either a lack of understanding, not at their own fault, but a lack of understanding when it comes to financial education. They have a lack of confidence due to the lack of understanding. You know, so I think, again, if these things like chemistry, biology, religious education, maths, English, if financial education was taught in schools or even in colleges or universities, obviously schools is a great foundation because you get to catch a wider group of people. But I think if that was the case, I feel I wouldn't have to deal with as many barriers as I have over the years as a financial expert, you know, if that was the case, because most people will have a basic understanding, but everybody's journey is different. And only those I find who have had a good upbringing and understanding of money from their parents, I find have had quite a good head start. And those that don't, it's helping them overcome that battle of kind of taking you back to like elementary kind of stage for some people, you know, and that's what it is. And for me, that's still quite frustrating, because I think I've been in the industry almost nearly 2 decades now, and not much has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, quite often that will go with other challenges as well. If they haven't had the background from their parents in financial education, they've probably got other challenges as well. Do you go into schools and do things with kids in schools?
Yeah, I've been into schools. I've done some bits. I've been into universities. I've done quite a fair bit with Oxford University as well. Some lectures, you know, whatever it is. I do regular kind of mentoring and internships. I've done many internships in the past with young university graduates, just again teaching them about financial education, showing them what the whole role of a financial planner looks like, because I think even what we actually do is kind of shied away from the world. You know, people still say, well, what is it that you actually do? You know, so I think actually giving them that insight, you know, is still not taught or showed in universities what a role looks like as a financial planner, what we do day to day, you know. So I give them that kind of insight, and I've done that yearly for the last number of years, and yeah, it's great to see them go on and, you know, go on and become to work for like the big 5 investment banks and things like that, at the back of now understanding what it is and being so excited about being in the industry. So yeah, I'm always open for things like that, because I just think it's got to be done. It's one of those things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you think in the UK sort of that people don't like talking about money as well?
Yeah, people don't like talking about money. It's a topic we shy away from. I think we're very well known as Brits for that. And again, that's one of my mottos, being more open about money. It can solve many issues. I think we're very good about being open with beauty, relationships.
Yeah.
We're very open about things like that. And it helps, doesn't it? It helps when, you have a friend and they tell you a bit about a beauty tip, or they tell you a bit about a relationship, and you think, oh, I'll steer clear of that, and I'll maybe use that as a beauty tip. And I think the fact that we're not open about money, it's almost as if nobody learns from each other in terms of their good success stories, or also their mistakes. That was one of the reasons why I set up my podcast, Your Financial Journey, because I was just like, people need to know the ins and outs, the in between. Everybody just talks about the edges, what went really bad and what went, what was really good. But what about the whole in between? What's the whole story behind it? And I think if we could be more open about money, I think that in itself, it can be very therapeutic for many people. But yeah, it's a huge barrier I think we've got to overcome.
Yeah, I think, it goes back to that education, doesn't it? And
It does.
normalizing it. And, it's quite often people get into debt because they haven't talked about it. It's, and then it leads on to, other things, mental health issues. And so I think it's really important to talk about money in all aspects. And of course, I think that, that does, as you say, come back to education. I think we'll probably leave it there, and just as our big movement, there's a lot of people in money are saying that there needs to be more in education. So tell people, Makala, where they can find you.
So yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at The Wealth Check. You can also get access to my book. So I'm the author of The Money Edit. It's available at all major bookstores. You learn a lot about me in that book, but also even more so, more importantly, a lot more about money. Those are the major platforms.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much. And I hope you found that useful and interesting, and thank you for listening. And if you have a topic you'd like me to discuss on the show, you can email me on helen@eastlondonradio.org.uk. And you can find me on my website, thecomplainingcow.co.uk, for information on consumer issues, including rights, money-saving matters. And you can see all the other episodes of The Complaining Cow show on East London Radio there. And you can find me on Twitter @Complaining Cow and @The Complaining Cow on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also get 15% off the books, How to Complain, the Essential Consumer Guide to Getting Refunds, Redress and Results, and 101 Habits of an Effective Complainer, with the code ELRCOW. Many thanks. See you next time. Bye.